Thanks for joining us. Today we're talking to Kate Shemirani.
Thank you. Good afternoon, and thank you for getting my name correct.
I've got your name right. Well, that's a good start, I suppose. So let me ask you a question then, Kate, seeing as I got you in the hot seat. Well, actually, I've got a few questions.
You don't know where to start now, do you? Because we've had such a big chat.
I want to start at the beginning. I want to know a bit about you and a bit about your journey to being a natural nurse in a toxic world.
Okay, so I was born the youngest of three daughters in a Midlands coal mining town, daughter of a postman. And we had a very humble background, council house, and then they bought a house later. So that dispels all those people that say, you know, I come from some kind of rich background. And I went to college, actually, to do law because I wanted to join the police. And that would have gone down well. So I did apply for the cadets twice and didn't get it. I got down to my last interview, actually, the last time. I don't think I've told anyone that. There you go. Get a bit. And anyway, I went to college, didn't like that. So I left and went and worked in a factory, putting buttons on shirts. And then I went to Spain. And I hitchhiked back from Valencia with a guy to Glasgow. I got a job straight away the next day in Argos. And then I applied for a nursing assistant's job. Didn't get it, but they sent my letter to the College of Nursing. So that was where I applied for nursing. And on November 5th, 1984, I began my nursing career. So then I carried on doing that. But I used to lie on the lawn as a little girl and watch the birds going over on a summer's night. And my grandparents and all my aunts and uncles were in Australia. And I wanted to go where that plane went. So I always had this fascination with air hostesses. So in 1990, I joined British Airways and I travelled the world. And I got married in 1996 to Dr. Faramas Shemirani. And then in 1998, my firstborn son, after 5 attempts at IVF, was born, Sebastian. And then a couple of years later, I was pregnant with triplets, and one of them didn't grow from 8 weeks. And I had my beautiful twins, Gabriel and Paloma. And then I stopped working. And at the time, I was one of the inaugural nurses for NHS Direct. And I was also working in A&E. My last 3 years of flying, I was part-time, so I did a month flying, a month nursing. So I was working in the NHS, for those who think I wasn't. And then I stopped when I had my twins, and then I had my fourth child in quick succession. So that's 4 kids under 4. The last one was natural. That was a bigger shock. And we then moved from the Midlands to Sussex. And when my youngest started school, I went back to university to get my nursing registration back. And then I began, and I opened an aesthetics business. And then a couple of years later, I was diagnosed with a very aggressive and deadly breast cancer, lobulate invasive grade 3 with a high pleomorphic presentation. So 2 independent peer-reviewed studies said 20% chance of surviving, 2 years, 0.5. I had private surgery and I declined chemo, radiotamoxifen, Zoladex. I followed the full Gerson therapy for 2 years, vitamin B17, Laetrile for 2 years, high-dose vitamin C for 2 years, and mistletoe, Iscador injections into my abdomen for 1 year. And that was to change my life. So there you are. That's who I am. I also got divorced, actually. That was my last part of healing. And he's my children's father, and he found the Gerson therapy. So whatever happened in our marriage, it's in the past. I forgive everything, and I'm grateful for my 4 children, and that's all I ever say on it.
I got to ask, just one, I do need to ask. I see an interview with your son, Sebastian, and he said that you gave him a Messiah complex, but I think he did say that.
Yeah, he did say that.
He did say that? Is that true?
Well, only he would know that, wouldn't he, if he's got a Messiah complex?
Do you think he's got a reason to feel like he's got
he's a very, first of all, he's my son and I love him and I forgave him the day he was born for anything that he would do in his life. That's called a mother's love.
Right.
And I would die for him. Right. And I would protect him and stand in front of him. I don't care what he's done or what he's said. He's my son and I love him. He's an extremely gifted young man. He always was. He excelled at everything. Everything. He went to grammar school and then he went to Eton on a full scholarship. I didn't have to pay a single penny. I didn't even pay for his computer or his uniform. He was head of Speech Society, head of the Economic Society, head of Debating Society. He had lots of essays published, economics essays. He got the highest accolade when he left. I was very, very proud that he was the beautiful pianist. When I got pregnant, most people buy a pram, I bought a piano. He played saxophone. He swam for the Air Cadets. He won all the trophies for Air Cadets, for the shooting team. He joined the shooting team at Eton. Whatever he put his hand to, he acted in their play. He was just an incredibly gifted young man. He's also, and I don't care who says what, he's very aesthetically good looking. He was very good at jiu-jitsu. He was very good at judo. He was good at everything. And I wouldn't have cared if he was rubbish at everything. I love him. And so when I saw those interviews, he knows what the truth is. I have 3 other children that I told to stay out of it, and their my mother and my sister, who were very upset. He knows that there were a lot of mistruths spoken there, but why did he do the interviews, which is what everyone always wants to know? Well, I don't know. And only he knows that, and whoever the controllers are or the people. I believe that he was paid because he then went travelling for a year. And I remember my other daughter telling me that his dad had said, "I don't know where he's getting his money from." That's my good, broad accent. He doesn't talk quite like that, but sort of. And he went travelling for a year. Now, he did lots of interviews all over the place. And I don't know. When he went to Eton, you almost sign a gag clause. It's a very interesting place. I know that 3 masters, while he was there, we got letters to say that they'd been arrested and later charged for paedophilia or whatever it was, having images, who knows. We know that this school is steeped in history and where it is in Windsor, the way they dress. We know that world leaders, everybody's children go there and they all know their career paths. So who knows? Did he have to do it? We don't know that.
Well,
if you look at the BBC World Service that first did the interview, well, that's MI5 funded, is it not? So I don't know the answer to that. Did he want to do it, or did he have to do it?
has it affected you to your detriment? Has it detrimentally affected you, or is it?
Well, I'm concerned for him because he did come to my house after that first round of interviews with his very beautiful then girlfriend to introduce her to me. And people said, "Oh, how could you let him in?" Well, I don't need to mention it. Why do I need to mention it? He knows he's done it. It doesn't bother me. Hasn't done me any harm. But I do think it was extremely wrong. You never see politicians' children taken, do you? Never. If you remember all of the thing with Edwina Currie and John Major, did you see any of their children taken and interviewed? No. When they had that illicit affair. You're probably a bit too young to remember that. But you don't see any of that. So to take my son, that he will always be remembered now for the young man who sold his mother out. Now, what he said to me at the time was he wanted to go into banking, which he's in. Then he wanted to possibly go in the military. I don't know if he still does as an officer. I don't know. And he wanted to then go into politics. And he did do PPE at London School of Economics. That will forever. Can you imagine the opposition in the future? Well, don't trust him. He sold his own mother out. I think it was appalling that they used a son. And he also, if you look on all the interviews now that have got comments, it's very interesting that are on YouTube how those comments have changed dramatically over the last 2 years in my favour, which I don't need favour.
But that was my original question. Like, do you think it's detrimentally affected your career?
It hasn't affected me, but I believe it will affect him.
Right.
And I think that's wrong. But he knows, for me, my door is open and I would defend him to my death. I don't care because I love him. He's my firstborn.